A desperate Brunali female stumbles into a human military outpost, her shimmering blue-green skin marred by wounds. She collapses at the feet of Sergeant Nicholas Roberts, her violet eyes pleading for help. This is Celeste, an escaped prisoner who opposes her species' war against humanity. Nicholas scans her quickly, finding no weapons or tracking devices. Alarms blare as he lifts her weakened form, carrying her to the medical bay. The outpost commander's voice crackles over the intercom, ordering immediate evacuation. Brunali forces have breached the outer defenses. In the sterile confines of the medical bay, Nicholas works swiftly. His hands move with practiced efficiency, applying advanced human medical technology to stabilize Celeste's condition. Her breathing steadies, but the danger is far from over. "Why did you come here?" Nicholas asks, eyes darting between Celeste and the medical readouts. Celeste winces as a regenerative patch seals a deep gash on her arm. "I have information, crucial intelligence about Brunali military operations. It could change the course of the war." Nicholas pauses, his mind racing. The evacuation order rings in his ears, but the potential value of Celeste's information is too great to ignore. He makes his decision in a heartbeat. "We're staying," he says, moving to barricade the door. Outside, the sounds of battle grow closer. Plasma fire and explosions shake the outpost's foundations. Nicholas returns to Celeste's side, continuing his ministrations with increased urgency. Celeste's eyes lock onto Nicholas, a mix of gratitude and something more intense shining in their violet depths. Her hand reaches out, trembling fingers grazing his arm. "You're risking everything for me," she whispers. Nicholas feels a surge of heat that has nothing to do with the battle raging around them. Despite years of professional training, he finds himself responding to Celeste's touch. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, the war fades away. Their bodies intertwine, a passionate fusion of human and Brunali anatomy. Nicholas marvels at the softness of Celeste's blue-green skin, the alienness of her form only heightening his arousal. They move together, finding a rhythm that transcends their biological differences. As the crescendo of their encounter fades, Nicholas notices something alarming. Celeste's skin feels cool to the touch, her breathing shallow. He recognizes the signs of severe shock in Brunali physiology, a potentially fatal condition. Cursing under his breath, Nicholas springs into action. He must find a way to stabilize Celeste's condition, protect the vital information she carries, and somehow escape the overrun outpost. The sounds of Brunali soldiers grow ever closer, adding a ticking clock to his already monumental task. As Nicholas races against time, he realizes that saving Celeste has become more than a mission. It's become personal. With determination etched on his face, he prepares to face whatever challenges lie ahead, knowing that the fate of both Celeste and the war effort now rest in his hands. Nicholas's eyes darted between Celeste's pale form and the medical readouts, his mind racing. The Brunali's condition was deteriorating rapidly, her skin growing colder by the second. He knew he had to act fast. Scanning the medical bay, Nicholas spotted a prototype device nestled in the corner, a human Brunali medical regulator. It was experimental, untested, but it might be their only hope. He grabbed the device and rushed back to Celeste's side. "Hold on," he muttered, connecting the regulator to her body with practiced efficiency. The machine hummed to life, its display flickering with alien symbols. Nicholas held his breath, watching intently as Celeste's vital signs slowly began to stabilize. As color returned to Celeste's skin, Nicholas turned his attention to their dire situation. The sounds of battle grew louder, plasma fire scorching the walls outside. He moved swiftly, gathering essential supplies, medkits, weapons, and portable comm units. At a nearby terminal, Nicholas's fingers flew across the keyboard. He initiated an emergency data purge, downloading classified human military information onto a secure drive. They couldn't risk letting it fall into Brunali hands. A soft groan from the medical bed caught his attention. Celeste's eyes fluttered open, her gaze focusing on Nicholas. What happened?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nicholas moved to her side, helping her sit up. "You went into shock. I had to use some unconventional methods to stabilize you. He paused, listening to the chaos outside. We need to move. Can you tell me about that crucial intelligence you mentioned? Celeste nodded, her strength returning. The Brunali have a hidden command center on Xylox. It's coordinating the entire planetary assault. She gripped Nicholas's arm, her eyes intense. If we can get this information to your high command, it could change everything. Nicholas processed this, his tactical mind already formulating a plan. We need to get out of here first. There's a network of maintenance tunnels beneath the outpost. It's our best shot at escape. As they prepared to leave, Nicholas noticed something odd. Celeste moved with unexpected grace and strength, her reactions quicker than before. How do you feel? He asked, eyeing her curiously. Celeste flexed her fingers, looking surprised. Different. Stronger. Whatever that device did, it seems to have enhanced my abilities. Nicholas nodded, filing away this information. That could come in handy. Let's move. They slipped into the dimly lit tunnels, the sounds of battle muffled above them. Nicholas led the way, his weapon at the ready. They moved silently through the winding passages, tension thick in the air. Suddenly voices echoed ahead. Nicholas signaled Celeste to stop, his heart pounding. A group of Brunali soldiers rounded the corner, their alien features twisting in surprise at the sight of the escapees. Before Nicholas could react, Celeste sprang into action. Her enhanced reflexes allowed her to disarm the nearest soldier with startling speed. Nicholas joined the fray, his combat training kicking in. Together, they made short work of the Brunali squad. As the last soldier fell, Nicholas noticed something peculiar about their weapons. He picked one up, examining it closely. This is new tech, he muttered. Could be valuable intel for our side. They pressed on, the captured weapon a welcome addition to their arsenal. The close quarters of the tunnel and the constant threat of discovery heightened their awareness of each other. Stolen glances and brief touches spoke volumes in the tense silence. In a secluded alcove, they paused to catch their breath. The adrenaline of their escape, combined with their earlier intimacy, proved too potent to resist. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, hands exploring alien contours with newfound reverence. Their lovemaking was different this time. Tender, almost desperate. It was a moment of connection in the chaos, a silent promise to see each other through whatever lay ahead. As they emerged from the tunnels on the outskirts of the outpost, the full scale of the battle became apparent. The sky was alive with energy blasts, the ground shaking with explosions. Human defenses crumbled under the onslaught of advanced Brunali weaponry. Nicholas spotted a battered transport vehicle nearby. There's our ticket out of here, he said, pointing. Ready for a sprint? Celeste nodded, her enhanced abilities still holding strong. They dashed across the battlefield, plasma bolts sizzling past them. Nicholas dove into the driver's seat, his hands working furiously to bring the vehicle to life. The engine sputtered and roared just as a Brunali patrol spotted them. Celeste leaned out the window, using her insider knowledge to shout confusing orders in the Brunali language. The distraction bought them precious seconds as Nicholas floored the accelerator. They tore away from the outpost, the battle receding behind them. Nicholas steered them towards the nearest human stronghold, pushing the transport to its limits. Celeste kept watch, her keen senses alert for any pursuit. As they sped across the alien landscape, Celeste suddenly doubled over in pain. "Nicholas!" she gasped. "Something's wrong!" Nicholas glanced over, alarm spreading across his face. Celeste's enhanced abilities were fading, and the full impact of her injuries was catching up with her. The prototype device had bought them time, but now it was running out. "Hang on," Nicholas urged, pressing the accelerator harder. The transport groaned under the strain, but he knew they couldn't slow down. Brunali patrols could be anywhere, and Celeste needed proper medical attention fast. As they raced against time, the alien terrain blurred around them. Nicholas's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his eyes constantly darting between the treacherous road ahead and Celeste's deteriorating form beside him. The fate of their mission, their lives, and perhaps the entire war now depended on this desperate drive. With danger at their heels and an uncertain future ahead, Nicholas and Celeste clung to their newfound bond, hoping it would be enough to see them through the trials to come. The transport's engine whined in protest as Nicholas pushed it to its limits. Celeste's body convulsed beside him, her enhanced abilities fading rapidly. The prototype device that had saved her life was now failing, its effects wearing off with alarming speed. "Stay with me, Celeste," Nicholas urged, his eyes darting between the treacherous terrain ahead and her deteriorating form. The alien landscape blurred past them as he navigated around jagged rock formations and through narrow ravines. Suddenly, a barrage of energy blasts erupted from the horizon. Brunali patrol ships had spotted them, their weapons tearing into the transport's hull. Nicholas swerved violently, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. "We're not going to make it to the stronghold," he growled, spotting a dense forest ahead. With no other choice, he steered the crippled vehicle toward the alien trees. The transport careened through the foliage, branches snapping against the windshield. With a sickening crunch, it slammed into a massive trunk, coming to an abrupt halt. Nicholas's head whipped forward, stars exploding in his vision. Shaking off the dizziness, he turned to Celeste. She lay motionless, her blue-green skin pale and clammy. Nicholas's heart raced as he checked her vital signs. She was alive, but barely. "We're not done yet," he muttered, springing into action. Nicholas gathered what supplies he could from the wreckage, fashioning a makeshift stretcher from the transport's debris. With gentle care, he secured Celeste to the improvised carrier. The sounds of Brunali's search parties echoed in the distance as Nicholas began his grueling trek through the alien forest. The unfamiliar flora cast eerie shadows, and strange creatures skittered in the underbrush. Every step was a challenge, the uneven terrain threatening to trip him as he carried his precious cargo. Hours passed, each moment a battle against exhaustion and despair. Nicholas's muscles screamed in protest, but he refused to slow down. Celeste's labored breathing spurred him onward, a constant reminder of the urgency of their situation. As the alien sun began to set, casting an otherworldly glow through the canopy, Nicholas heard movement ahead. He tensed, reaching for his weapon with one hand while steadying the stretcher with the other. "Hold it right there," a voice called out. Human voices. Nicholas felt a surge of relief, quickly tempered by caution. "I'm Sergeant Nicholas Roberts, Terran Defense Force," he responded, his voice hoarse from exertion. "I have a critically wounded Brunali defector with vital intelligence. We need immediate assistance." A group of figures emerged from the shadows, weapons trained on Nicholas and Celeste. At their head was a woman with sharp features and calculating eyes. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen, Xylox Resistance," she said, her gaze fixed on Celeste's alien form. "You'd better start explaining, Sergeant. Why are you carrying a Brunali through our territory?" Nicholas quickly recounted their escape from the overrun outpost and the intelligence Celeste carried. Captain Chen's expression remained guarded, but she motioned for her team to lower their weapons. "The human stronghold fell 2 days ago," Chen revealed, her voice tight with scarcely controlled anger. "We're all that's left of the organized resistance on this sector of Xylox." Nicholas felt a wave of despair wash over him. Their destination, their hope for safety, was gone. He looked down at Celeste, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. "She needs medical attention," he pleaded. "The information she has could turn the tide of this war." Captain Chen studied them for a long moment before nodding. "We have a temporary base set up in an abandoned mining facility nearby. It's not much, but it's all we've got. Follow me." The resistance fighters led Nicholas through a maze of twisted alien vegetation. As they approached a hillside, Chen activated a hidden panel, revealing a concealed entrance. They descended into the bowels of the abandoned facility, the air growing thick with the scent of minerals and machinery. In a large chamber filled with a hodgepodge of human and salvaged alien technology, Nicholas gently laid Celeste on a makeshift examination table. His eyes widened as he spotted a sleek, unfamiliar device in the corner. "Is that what I think it is?" he asked, hope rising in his chest. Chen nodded. "Experimental medical unit. We found it when we took over this place. It's our best shot at stabilizing your Brunali friend." Nicholas wasted no time working with the resistance medic to connect Celeste to the advanced medical unit. The device hummed to life, its display flickering with a stream of data. Nicholas held his breath, watching intently as Celeste's vital signs began to stabilize. As color returned to Celeste's skin, Chen approached Nicholas. While she recovers, we need to talk strategy. If what you say is true, we might have a shot at hitting the Brunali where it hurts. Nicholas nodded, his gaze lingering on Celeste's peaceful form. He had saved her life, delivered crucial intelligence, and found unexpected allies. But he knew the real battle was just beginning. With revitalized commitment, he turned to face Captain Chen, ready to plan their next move in this desperate war for survival on the alien world of Xylox. Xylox. The name of the alien world echoed in Nicholas's mind as he turned his attention from Celeste's recovering form to Captain Chen. The gravity of their situation deeply affected upon him, but a spark of hope ignited in his chest. They had vital intelligence and unexpected allies. Now was the time to act. "Captain," Nicholas said, his voice low and urgent, "we need to use this information. The hidden Brunali Command Center. It's our best chance to turn the tide." Chen's eyes narrowed as she considered his words. "It's risky, Sergeant. We're outgunned and outnumbered. But you're right, we might not get another opportunity like this." As they huddled around a holographic display of the terrain, Celeste stirred. She blinked, her alien eyes focusing on the group. "I can help," she said, her voice weak but determined. Nicholas moved to her side, concern etched on his face. "You need to rest." Celeste shook her head, pushing herself up. "My knowledge of Brunali systems and tactics could be crucial. I'm coming with you." A tense silence fell over the room. Nicholas locked eyes with Chen, a silent debate passing between them. Finally, Chen nodded. "We'll need every advantage we can get. Welcome aboard, Celeste." The next hours were a flurry of activity. The resistance fighters prepped weapons and equipment, while Nicholas and Celeste pored over maps and schematics. As they worked, their hands brushed, sending electricity through Nicholas's body. He pushed the feeling aside, focusing on the task at hand. Under the cover of Xylox's alien night, they set out. The team moved silently through the twisted landscape, their bodies cloaked by advanced stealth technology. Nicholas felt his heart pounding as they approached the coordinates of the hidden command center. Suddenly, Celeste grabbed his arm, pointing ahead. A shimmer in the air betrayed the presence of a massive energy shield. "It's more advanced than I expected," she whispered, her brow furrowed in concentration. Captain Chen cursed under her breath. "Can we bypass it?" Celeste's eyes darted across the barrier, analyzing its structure. "There's a weakness in the power grid. If we can reach the shield generator, we might be able to disable it." Nicholas met her gaze, understanding passing between them. "We'll go," he said to Chen. "Two-person team, less chance of detection." Chen nodded grimly. "Do it. We'll be ready to move on your signal." Nicholas and Celeste broke away from the group, slipping through a narrow fissure in the rocky terrain. They found themselves in a maze of maintenance tunnels, barely wide enough for a single person. As they squeezed through the tight passages, their bodies pressed close together. Nicholas felt Celeste's warmth, her alien scent filling his senses. The tension between them built with each step until it became unbearable. In a small alcove, they paused to catch their breath. Their eyes met, and suddenly they were in each other's arms. Their kisses were desperate, hands exploring familiar curves with renewed urgency. They made love quickly, silently, the danger of their situation adding a thrilling edge to their passion. Afterward, they disentangled themselves, adjusting their gear with shaky hands. No words were needed as they pressed on, their bond strengthened by the intimate encounter. They reached the shield generator room, a cavernous space filled with humming machinery. Celeste's expertise proved invaluable as she guided Nicholas through the intricate Brunali systems. Working in perfect sync, they managed to deactivate the energy shield. The moment of triumph was short-lived. An alarm blared, the sound echoing through the facility. "We've got to move!" Nicholas shouted, grabbing Celeste's hand. They sprinted back through the tunnels, the sounds of approaching Brunali soldiers growing louder. As they emerged from the fissure, they found themselves in the midst of chaos. Captain Chen and her team had launched their assault, energy weapons lighting up the night. Nicholas and Celeste fought their way through the melee, their movements perfectly coordinated. They pushed toward the command center, knowing their ultimate goal lay within. The central control room loomed before them, its doors sealed shut. Nicholas planted an explosive charge, shielding Celeste with his body as the blast rocked the structure. They burst through the smoke, weapons at the ready. A massive figure rose to meet them. Zarkax, the Brunali High Commander. His alien features twisted in a snarl as he charged Nicholas, ignoring his weapon and engaging him in hand-to-hand combat. Nicholas grappled with the powerful alien, his muscles straining against Zarkax's superior strength. Celeste's voice cut through his struggle. "The thorax! It's a weak point in Brunali physiology." With a grunt of effort, Nicholas drove his fist into Zarkax's midsection. The commander doubled over, giving Nicholas the opening he needed. A swift series of blows, and Zarkax crumpled to the ground. But even as he fell, the Brunali commander's hand slammed down on a console. Red lights flashed throughout the facility, accompanied by an ominous computerized voice. "Self-destruct sequence initiated. Facility will detonate in 5 minutes." Nicholas and Celeste shared a look of drive. They raced to the main computer, their fingers flying across the alien interface. As Celeste worked to download the crucial military data, Nicholas kept watch, his weapon trained on the door. "Nicholas," Celeste's voice was tight with emotion. "There's something here. About the war. About my people. It's not what we thought." "We'll figure it out later," Nicholas urged, eyeing the countdown timer. "We need to go. Now." They sprinted from the control room, the facility crumbling around them. They reunited with Captain Chen and the surviving resistance fighters, piling into commandeered Brunali vehicles just as the command center erupted in a massive explosion. As they sped away from the destruction, Nicholas looked at Celeste. Her face was a mask of conflicting emotions, the data pad clutched tightly to her chest. Whatever she had discovered, he knew it would change everything. The alien landscape of Xylox blurred past them as they drove deeper into enemy territory. They had struck a decisive blow against the Brunali, but at what cost? Cut off from human forces, with shocking revelations threatening to upend their understanding of the war, Nicholas knew their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The adrenaline of their narrow escape began to fade, replaced by a gnawing sense of uncertainty. Nicholas glanced at Celeste, noting the tension in her alien features. Whatever she had discovered in the Brunali command center deeply affected on her. He wanted to ask, to understand, but now wasn't the time. Their immediate concern was survival. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "We've got Brunali patrols closing in from the east and west. We need to lose them and find shelter." Nicholas scanned the alien landscape, his mind racing. "There," he said, pointing to a jagged outcropping in the distance. "Those rock formations might provide cover." Chen nodded, steering the commandeered vehicle toward the natural barrier. As they approached, Celeste's eyes widened. "Wait," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I recognize this area. There's an abandoned Brunali outpost nearby." Nicholas exchanged a look with Chen. It was a risk, but one they had to take. They couldn't outrun the Brunali patrols forever. Following Celeste's directions, they navigated through a maze of twisted vegetation and rocky terrain. Finally, they came upon a structure partially hidden by the alien flora. Its angular design and metallic sheen marked it as distinctly Brunali. "Looks deserted," Chen observed as they cautiously approached. "But stay alert." They entered the outpost, weapons at the ready. Dust and debris covered abandoned consoles and equipment. It was clear the facility had been hastily evacuated. As they searched the outpost, Nicholas noticed Celeste's movements becoming sluggish. Her skin had taken on a sickly pallor. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern etching his features. Celeste shook her head, leaning against a wall for support. "Something's wrong. I don't feel right." Before Nicholas could respond, Chen called out from an adjacent room. "You need to see this." They hurried to join her, finding the captain standing before a large complex device. Its design was unmistakably Brunali, but with modifications. "Is that what I think it is?" Nicholas asked, his pulse quickening. Chen nodded. "Long-range communicator. If we can get it working, we might be able to contact human high command." As the team set to work repairing and modifying the device, Celeste's condition rapidly deteriorated. She collapsed, her body racked with convulsions. Nicholas rushed to her side, his medical training kicking in. "It's a relapse," he realized aloud. Her Brunali physiology is rejecting the human treatments. He carried her to a makeshift medical bay, his mind racing. The experimental unit they'd salvaged earlier was their best hope. Nicholas connected Celeste to the device, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. As he worked, Celeste's eyes fluttered open. Their gazes locked, and suddenly the air between them crackled with intensity. Without thinking, Nicholas leaned down, pressing his lips to hers. The kiss deepened, urgent and passionate. Nicholas felt a surge of energy flow between them, as if his very life force was intertwining with Celeste's alien biology. Their bodies came together, a tangle of human and Brunali limbs moving in perfect synchronicity. As they separated, both panting heavily, Nicholas noticed a change in Celeste's vital signs. The intimate encounter seemed to have stabilized her condition, at least temporarily. A shout from the main room pulled Nicholas back to reality. "We've got it working!" Chen called out. Nicholas squeezed Celeste's hand before hurrying to join the others. The long-range communicator hummed with power, its display flickering to life. Chen's fingers flew across the alien interface, inputting the encryption codes for human high command. "Transmitting now," she announced, her voice tense with anticipation. For a moment, there was only static. Then a burst of data flooded the screen. They'd done it. The crucial Brunali military information was on its way to human forces. Their victory was short-lived. An alarm blared throughout the outpost, its shrill tone unmistakable. "Proximity alert," Celeste said weakly from the doorway. "Brunali forces incoming." Nicholas's mind raced. They were cornered, outgunned, and Celeste was in no condition to fight. But they couldn't abandon the outpost, not when they were so close to turning the tide of the war. "We make our stand here," Chen decided, her voice steely with drive. "Use everything we've got. Sergeant, what's our status?" Nicholas assessed their situation quickly. "Limited weaponry, but we've got knowledge of Brunali tactics thanks to Celeste. If we can fortify key positions, we might be able to hold them off." As the team scrambled to prepare their defenses, Nicholas felt torn. His duty demanded he join the fight, but every fiber of his being screamed to stay with Celeste, to protect her. In the end, duty won out. With a last lingering look at Celeste, Nicholas joined Chen at the outpost main entrance. The sounds of approaching Brunali forces grew louder, and Nicholas tightened his grip on his weapon. "Here they come," Chen muttered. The first wave of Brunali soldiers burst into view, their alien weaponry blazing. Nicholas and Chen opened fire, their modified weapons cutting through the enemy's advanced armor. The battle raged on, a chaotic dance of human ingenuity and Brunali technology. Nicholas moved like a man possessed, his combat training merging with the tactical insights Celeste had shared. During a brief lull in the fighting, Nicholas raced back to check on Celeste. He found her condition had worsened significantly. Her skin was pale, her breathing labored. "Nicholas," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "There's a way, but it's dangerous." He leaned in close, hanging on her every word. "Tell me." "A Brunali medical procedure," Celeste explained. "It requires a specific compound, found only in our medical facilities. Without it, I won't survive much longer." Nicholas felt his heart constrict. The sounds of renewed fighting echoed through the outpost. He was needed on the front lines, but Celeste's life hung in the balance. Before he could respond, Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Sergeant, we've got a transmission from High Command. They're launching a counteroffensive, but we need to hold this position for 48 hours until reinforcements arrive." Nicholas looked at Celeste, then back towards the sounds of battle. The fate of the war and the woman he'd come to care for deeply now rested on his next decision. With the weight of two worlds on his shoulders, Nicholas prepared himself for the most crucial choice of his life. Life. His mind raced, weighing the impossible odds against the lives at stake. In that moment, Nicholas made his decision. "Chen," he called over the comm, "I need you at the medical bay. Now." As Chen arrived, Nicholas laid out his plan. "We're going to infiltrate the nearby Brunali research facility. It's our only chance to save Celeste and potentially turn this war around." Chen's eyes widened, but she nodded grimly. "Who do you need?" "You, me, and two of our best fighters. The rest stay here to defend the outpost." Within minutes, they had assembled their team and prepared for the daring mission. Nicholas gently lifted Celeste, her body limp in his arms. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're getting you that compound." The infiltration team moved swiftly, using stolen Brunali uniforms and captured energy weapons to disguise themselves. As they approached the research facility's outer defenses, Nicholas felt his heart pounding. Everything hinged on their deception. "Halt!" a Brunali guard called out. "State your purpose." Chen stepped forward, her alien features hidden beneath a helmet. "Prisoner transfer. Critical condition. Requires immediate experimental treatment." The guard hesitated, then waved them through. Nicholas exhaled slowly, tightening his grip on Celeste. Once inside, the team split up. Chen and one fighter headed towards the weapons development section, while Nicholas, carrying Celeste and the other fighter, made for the medical bay. The corridors were a maze of sleek metal and pulsing energy conduits. Nicholas moved as quickly as he dared, every step bringing them closer to salvation, or discovery. They encountered a few Brunali staff, but their disguises held. Finally, they reached the medical bay. Nicholas's eyes darted around the room, searching for the compound Celeste had described. He spotted a cabinet filled with vials of strange, iridescent liquid. "Cover the door," he ordered the other fighter. Nicholas gently laid Celeste on an examination table and began sifting through the vials. Suddenly, the doors hissed open. 2 Brunali medical staff entered, freezing at the sight before them. Nicholas reacted instantly, closing the distance in 2 strides. He struck with brutal efficiency, rendering both Brunali unconscious before they could raise the alarm. With shaking hands, Nicholas administered the compound to Celeste. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then color began to return to her skin, her breathing steadied. Celeste's eyes fluttered open, meeting Nicholas's gaze. "You came," she whispered. Before Nicholas could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Their cover was blown. "We need to move," Nicholas said, helping Celeste to her feet. She swayed but managed to stand. They fought their way out of the medical bay, Nicholas and Celeste moving in perfect synchronization. Their bodies pressed close in the heat of combat, adrenaline and something deeper fueling their movements. In a brief moment of respite, Celeste pulled Nicholas into an alcove. Their lips met in a fierce, urgent kiss. The world faded away, leaving only the electric connection between them. The moment shattered as plasma bolts sizzled past. They broke apart, breathing heavily, and rejoined the fray. They rendezvoused with Chen's team near the facility's exit. Chen's face was grim but satisfied. "We found the weapons. You won't believe what they're capable of." Their escape was cut short as they rounded a corner and came face to face with a Brunali scientist. His eyes widened in recognition. "Dr. Zinvax?" Celeste gasped. The Brunali scientist raised his hand slowly. "You're with the human resistance," he said, his voice a mix of fear and curiosity. Nicholas tensed, ready for action, but Celeste placed a hand on his arm. She stepped forward, addressing Dr. Zinvax in rapid-fire Brunali. Nicholas couldn't understand the words, but he saw the conflict play across the scientist's face. Finally, Dr. Zinvax nodded. "I will help you escape," he said in accented English, "and I will provide data on our military operations. Perhaps this war is built on misunderstandings." With Dr. Zinvax's help, they navigated the facility's back corridors. As they emerged into the alien night, Nicholas saw massive Brunali reinforcements arriving. The true importance of the research center became clear. They commandeered Brunali vehicles, using the prototype weapons to clear a path. The journey back to the outpost was treacherous, but Nicholas found moments to glance at Celeste. Their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passing between them. As they neared the outpost, the sounds of battle grew louder. They arrived to find it under heavy assault. Nicholas gripped his weapon tightly, ready to defend their hard-won position. "Let's show them what these new toys can do," Chen said, a fierce grin on her face. They charged into the fray, their stolen Brunali weapons turning the tide. Nicholas moved with deadly precision, Celeste at his side. Together they held the line until the sky lit up with the telltale signs of human reinforcements arriving. As the Brunali forces retreated, Nicholas allowed himself a moment of hope. They had survived against impossible odds, and now held the key to potentially ending this war. But as he looked at Celeste, saw the mixture of joy and sorrow in her alien eyes, he knew their greatest challenges still lay ahead. Convincing both sides to come to the negotiating table would be a monumental task. Nicholas took Celeste's hand, squeezing it gently. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Together. As the dust settled from their hard-fought victory, Nicholas and Celeste barely had time to catch their breath before they were thrust into the next phase of the conflict. A sleek transport arrived at the outpost, bearing the insignia of human high command. Captain Chen approached Nicholas and Celeste, her expression a mix of exhaustion and excitement. "We've been summoned," she said, gesturing towards the waiting vehicle. "Looks like our little operation caught some important attention." The journey to the high-security human military base on Xylox's outskirts was tense and silent. Nicholas found himself constantly aware of Celeste's presence beside him, their shoulders touching in the cramped transport. He could sense her unease, knowing that as a Brunali defector, she might face suspicion from human military leadership. Upon arrival, they were escorted to a briefing room where they came face-to-face with General Marcus Hawk. The general's weathered face bore the scars of countless battles, his eyes sharp as he assessed the unlikely team before him. "Sergeant Nicholas, Captain Chen, and Celeste," he said, nodding to each in turn. "Your recent actions have not gone unnoticed. The intelligence you've provided has already shifted the tide of this war." Nicholas felt a surge of pride, but it was quickly tempered by the general's next words. "However, we've intercepted communications that suggest the Brunali are far from defeated. They're planning something big, something that could undo all our progress." General Hawk activated a holographic display showing a vast network of Brunali-controlled systems. "We need you to infiltrate the heart of Brunali High Command. Your mission is to gather intelligence on their ultimate war plans." The room fell silent as the magnitude of the task sank in. Nicholas glanced at Celeste, seeing the conflict in her eyes. This mission would pit her directly against her own people. "Sir," Nicholas began, "with all due respect, the risks are necessary," General Hawk cut him off. "You've proven yourselves capable of the impossible. Now, we need you to do it again." The next few hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Nicholas and Celeste, along with Chen and a small team of operatives, were outfitted with a hybrid of stolen Brunali technology and cutting-edge human stealth systems. As they boarded their specially modified craft, Nicholas pulled Celeste aside. "Are you sure about this?" he asked softly, his hand resting on her arm. Celeste's alien features softened as she met his gaze. "My people are on a path of destruction," she said. "If I can help stop this war, I have to try." Their lips met in a brief, intense kiss before they joined the others. The craft hummed to life, its advanced cloaking systems engaging as they set course for Brunali space. The journey deep into enemy territory was fraught with tension. Nicholas and Celeste found moments of solace in each other's arms, their intimate encounters a stark contrast to the danger that surrounded them. Using Celeste's knowledge of Brunali protocols and the team's combined skills, they successfully infiltrated a heavily guarded military complex. As they moved through the facility's winding corridors, Nicholas felt a growing sense of unease. They reached a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and bustling Brunali officers. Celeste's eyes widened as she translated the information before them. "Nicholas," she whispered, her voice trembling, "they're building a superweapon, something capable of destroying entire worlds." Before Nicholas could respond, alarms blared throughout the complex. They'd been discovered. "Move!" Chen shouted, opening fire on the approaching Brunali security forces. The team fought their way through waves of enemies, their hybrid weapons cutting through Brunali defenses. Nicholas and Celeste moved in perfect synchronization, covering each other's blind spots and taking down foes with practiced efficiency. As they battled towards the central database, Celeste broke away from the group. "Cover me!" she called out, her fingers flying over an alien console. Nicholas positioned himself at her back, fending off attacks as Celeste worked to hack the Brunali systems. "Got it!" she exclaimed. downloading crucial data on the superweapon's weaknesses. Their victory was short-lived. As they turned to escape, a massive figure blocked their path. Nicholas felt his blood run cold as he recognized the cybernetically enhanced form of Zarkax, the Brunali High Commander they had believed dead. "Traitors," Zarkax growled, his augmented limbs whirring as he advanced. Nicholas stepped forward, putting himself between Zarkax and Celeste. "Get the others out of here," he ordered, never taking his eyes off the Brunali commander. What followed was a brutal hand-to-hand combat that pushed Nicholas to his limits. Zarkax's cybernetic enhancements gave him inhuman strength and speed, but Nicholas's training and willpower kept him in the fight. As Nicholas began to falter under Zarkax's relentless assault, Celeste appeared at his side. Together they outmaneuvered the hulking commander. In a final, desperate move, Nicholas used Zarkax's momentum against him, sending him crashing into a bank of sensitive equipment. With the complex in chaos and Brunali forces closing in, the team fought their way to a nearby spaceport. "There!" Celeste pointed to a sleek experimental warship. "That's our best chance." They boarded the vessel, Celeste's expertise allowing her to quickly master its alien controls. The ship roared to life, blasting out of the spaceport and into the stars beyond. As they broke through the Brunali blockade, Chen's voice cut through the momentary elation. "We've got a problem. There's a tracking device on board. The entire Brunali fleet knows our location." Nicholas made a split-second decision. "Chen, take an escape pod with the data. Get it back to human space. Celeste and I will draw them off with this ship." As Chen and the others jettisoned in the escape pod, Nicholas took the co-pilot seat beside Celeste. They shared a look of understanding, knowing the danger they faced. Celeste plotted a course through a treacherous asteroid field, using her innate understanding of the ship's capabilities to outmaneuver their pursuers. In a moment of relative calm, Nicholas pulled her close, their bodies intertwining in the confines of the control room. Their passionate embrace was interrupted by a violent impact. Brunali energy weapons had found their mark, rocking the ship and causing critical systems to fail. Alarms blared as the ship lost power, drifting deeper into uncharted space. Nicholas held Celeste tightly as they watched the pursuing Brunali fleet through the viewscreen. "What now?" Celeste asked, her voice barely audible over the ship's warnings. Nicholas looked at her, then back at the vast, hostile expanse of space before them. They were alone, hunted, and carrying information that could change the course of the war. But as he felt Celeste's hand in his, Nicholas knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Together. As the alarms blared and the ship shuddered around them, Nicholas and Celeste sprang into action. Their eyes met for a brief moment, a silent understanding passing between them. "The cloaking device," Celeste said, her fingers already dancing across the alien control panel. "If we can restore even partial power, it might buy us some time." Nicholas nodded, moving to assist her. He marveled at how seamlessly they worked together, human and Brunali, their differences fading away in the face of their shared goal. Celeste's intimate knowledge of Brunali technology, combined with Nicholas's human intuition, proved to be a formidable combination. After several tense minutes, a low hum filled the air. The ship's exterior flickered, becoming partially translucent. "It's not perfect," Celeste said, wiping sweat from her brow, "but it should confuse their sensors enough to give us an edge." They guided the wounded ship deeper into the asteroid field, using the natural cover to supplement their compromised cloaking. As they worked to repair other critical systems, Nicholas stumbled upon a hidden compartment. "Celeste, look at this," he called out, pulling out a sleek device. Her eyes widened in recognition. Prototype translation devices. They were experimenting with human Brunali communication. They activated the devices, and suddenly, the last vestiges of the language barrier between them dissolved. Nicholas found himself captivated by the nuances in Celeste's speech that he'd never fully appreciated before. In the relative calm that followed, as they drifted through the asteroid field, Nicholas and Celeste found themselves drawn into a deep conversation. With the new clarity of communication, they spoke of their fears, their hopes, and the unexpected bond that had formed between them. I never imagined I'd find myself here, Celeste said softly, her alien features softening as she gazed at Nicholas. Fighting alongside a human, feeling this. Nicholas reached out, taking her hand in his. I know, but whatever happens, we're in this together now. Their moment of intimacy was shattered by a violent impact. Alarms blared anew as the ship lurched, caught in the gravitational pull of a nearby planet. We're going down, Nicholas shouted, strapping himself into the pilot's seat. Brace for impact. The ship plummeted through the planet's atmosphere, trailing fire and debris. Nicholas and Celeste fought the controls, trying to guide their descent towards a dense forest of bioluminescent vegetation. With a deafening crash, the ship plowed into the alien landscape. Metal screamed and tore, and for a moment, everything went black. Nicholas awoke to the soft glow of the forest around them. He blinked, disoriented, before remembering where he was. Celeste, he called out, panic rising in his throat. I'm here, came her reply, and he saw her extracting herself from a tangle of wreckage. Are you hurt? They assessed their injuries, finding themselves remarkably intact given the violence of their crash. As they emerged from the ship, they were struck by the otherworldly beauty of their surroundings. The air itself seemed to shimmer, and Nicholas noticed with amazement that his skin had taken on a faint, ethereal glow. The atmosphere, Celeste said, examining her own glowing form, it's interacting with our biology in a way I've never seen before. They realized quickly that this phenomenon was interfering with their equipment. Their long-range communicators were useless, and even the ship's remaining systems struggled to function. We're hidden, Nicholas said, a mix of relief and apprehension in his voice. But we're also stranded. As the reality of their situation sank in, Nicholas and Celeste began to explore their alien surroundings. The forest was a maze of towering, luminous plants, their tendrils swaying in an unfelt breeze. Strange, melodic calls echoed in the distance, hinting at unseen fauna. Their exploration led them to a clearing where an ancient structure stood, its architecture unlike anything either of them had ever seen. As they approached, dormant systems hummed to life, responding to their presence. An outpost, Celeste breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. But whose? Inside, they found technology far beyond even Brunali understanding. Nicholas watched in amazement as Celeste interfaced with the alien systems, her natural aptitude for xenotechnology shining through. I think I can use this to send a message, she said, her fingers flying over holographic displays. But I can't control where it goes. It might reach our allies or our enemies, Nicholas finished. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Do it. It's a risk we have to take. As the message was sent out into the cosmos, Nicholas and Celeste turned their attention to survival. They foraged for edible plants, purified water from a nearby stream, and used salvage parts from their ship to construct a shelter near the alien outpost. Days passed, blending into one another in the perpetual twilight of the bioluminescent forest. Nicholas and Celeste grew closer with each passing hour, their bond deepening in ways neither had anticipated. In quiet moments, they found solace in each other's arms, their intimate encounters a stark contrast to the alien world around them. Unbeknownst to the stranded pair, they were not as alone as they believed. In the spaces between moments, in the shimmer of the air and the glow of the forest, ancient eyes watched. The non-corporeal beings, guardians of this world, observed the human and Brunali with growing fascination. As their supplies dwindled and the harsh reality of their situation set in, Nicholas and Celeste made a desperate decision. They returned to their crashed ship and activated the emergency beacon, knowing it could bring salvation or doom. Days later, as hope began to fade, the sky lit up with the telltale signs of ships entering the atmosphere. Nicholas and Celeste emerged from their shelter, weapons ready, unsure whether to expect friend or foe. To their astonishment, the landing party that emerged was composed of both humans and Brunali. At their head stood Captain Chen, her face a mix of relief and triumph. You two, she said, shaking her head in disbelief, have started quite the revolution.
If you finish this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, I liked the story, and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.